doctor my eyes.
Yes, we're happy that you guys aren't moving from United Healthcare, right? Everyone's heard of United Healthcare. I hope you guys have utilized the services. I hope we're treating you well. If we're not treating you well, then again, Millie's going to be your contact and give her a call, okay? If it's something she can't figure out, she's going to contact me. And I'm going to try to make this as simple as possible. I'm going to breeze over what we call the PPO plan, which is an option to you. Your employer's added what we call an HSA plan, and there are some kind of differences between those plans if you guys aren't familiar with that title. So we're going to spend more time on that HSA plan here, okay? When looking at the PPO plan, guys, again, doctors haven't changed. Please remember, we do have the Mayo Clinic contracted with us. That's a big deal for some people. They really want to have access to those Mayo doctors, so we do have those contracted if you're interested.
Doctor, doctor, give me the news, I gotta.
All right. Not shown on here, but I always want to make sure I bring it up. Convenience care clinics. Have you guys visited those inside of Walgreens, CVS, or Fry's? No? Okay, well I have. I've taken my kid, 5:30 at night, I pick her up from the daycare, and guess what? She has gooky eyes, right? What am I going to do? I'll take her to that convenience care clinic. I can walk in. I don't need to make an appointment. I'm going to see a nurse practitioner, and I'm going to get the services I need. That's going to be a $25 copay for you guys. You go there for strep throat, pink eye, sinus infections, things like that. Do we understand? Inside of Walgreens, CVS, and Fry's. Urgent care. Urgent care is a $75 copay. Guys, you see those copays going up. For me, $75 is significant in my household. I don't know about you, but that's why I stress the convenience care clinic. Urgent care is still a great resource, but if you're going there, you're probably going for something like maybe a minor, break, things like that. Maybe if you can't get into the convenience care clinic, it's closed and there's an urgent care open, you're going to try to keep that cost or stay away from that emergency room unless you have to go in there. And that would be a $75 copay. Emergency room is a $250 copay. This is the one benefit, whether it's in or out of network, you're going to pay that $250. Of course, guys, I want to stress, we don't go to the emergency room for the flu, for pink eye, things like that. We really should go for life or limb type threatening situations. Okay? That's why that copay is a little higher. That make sense? All right. Now, if you are admitted into the hospital, your copayment's waived, and you go straight to your deductible. Your deductible on this plan is $2,500. Once you satisfy that $2,500 for one person, then that person's going to be 100% for the remainder of that calendar year. Okay? It's a real nice plan. In the event something terrible happens, you guys are covered where you're only going to spend that $2,500. Now, please keep in mind, your copays do not go towards the deductible of the out-of-pocket, right? We don't get credit for copays. There is no credit, okay? That does include your pharmacy. Pharmacy is not changing for you guys, so that's the same. Just a reminder, down at the bottom there, your pharmacy is $10 for a Tier 1 drug, $35 for a Tier 2, and $60 for a Tier 3, okay? Remember, good rule of thumb that generics are cheaper than the brand names, but that is not always the case on our prescription drug list. That's how it works. My example this year is Lipitor. Lipitor came out with a generic. The generic's out on the market. Guess what? It's more expensive than the brand name, and that will happen for probably about the next 6 months. Okay? So again, as a consumer, ask questions about the medications you're taking. Guys, I'm not in the doctor's office, but ask questions. An HSA is a health savings account. It is a high deductible health plan that's offered by us, United Healthcare. Every carrier has one, but you guys have United Healthcare, so you have the medical plan. There is 2 pieces to the HSA. So before I go into the HSA, I always like to explain it's like a puzzle, 2 pieces to a puzzle. The second piece of an HSA is a banking account. Okay, that you are allowed to open pre-tax dollars into that banking account. Okay, it's very important to understand it because the HSA, when I go through it, a lot of people go, this doesn't sound like such a great plan. Okay, so now we're going to go back and we're going to talk about the medical plan, and then after I talk about the medical plan, I'm going to go in detail about the banking account. Does that make sense? And then on top of that, your employer has offered really generous funding or contribution, what we would call it, to your account. Okay, so we're going to listen up for that. All right? Okay. On the HSA plan, let's jump in. When we look at the HSA handout or the blue column there, we talk about preventative care. Preventative care, it says no charge. So that would definitely include the well woman, well man, well child visits. Again, same thing applies. If you're in there for preventative care, there should be no cost to you, the member. Okay? If it's something else other than preventative, it can be billed. And if it's billed, it will go apply to your deductible. Everything else on an HSA plan is subject to the deductible. You no longer have co-pays associated on this type of plan. So that means when you go to the doctor now for sickness or injury, that is going to apply to the deductible. If you go in for surgery, it applies to the deductible. If you go for lab work, it applies to the deductible. Is everyone getting what I'm saying here? All services apply to the deductible. When I said you go in for sickness or injury, any doctor's visit, any lab work, right? Any pharmacy. Everyone's used to going to the pharmacy and they pay a copay. Well, now your pharmacy is going to be subject to the contracted rate as opposed to a copay. So you no longer have copays. Both medical and pharmacy apply to the deductible, right? So it's a combination. You're satisfying the deductible up to $3,000. Once you satisfy the $3,000, you are 100% for medical services. Okay? The difference between the 3 and the 4, which is the out-of-pocket maximum shown on here, is $1,000. That will be pharmacy copays. Okay? So, medical and pharmacy applies up to $3,000. Once you satisfy that $3,000, you are 100% for medical services. That means we pay 100%. Okay? And you're going to pay copays for that remaining $1,000. And then you're 100% for the remainder of the year. Okay? Let's talk about your bank account. What happens is the government says you're able to open a bank account. Pre-tax money is allowed to go into that bank account. Okay? So you're able to take pre-tax money out. And when you put money into that account, okay, it's able to roll over year after year. That's fantastic, first of all. But even up and above that, your employer has decided to contribute money into that account on your behalf.
Does that count as that income for the year?
No.
No.
No. So what happens is, well, I guess you guys have it a little different. So if you are just getting the money into the account that you're allowed to have, which is $100, right, per month?
Yes. Yeah.
Per month into the account. $100 goes in there. That does not account towards your wages. Okay, it's put in there pre-taxed, right, on your behalf. So it's your money. Once your employer puts it in there, it's your money to keep. So you're getting $100 a month, okay, into that account. How much is that a year? $1,200. Pretty nice, right? Your employer's giving you those funds up front, right? But some people say, well, what if I go into this HSA and what if the first, 1 or 2 months I have something big happen, right? Surgery, I was in a car accident, I'm hospitalized. Maybe I'm diagnosed with some kind of, disease, heaven forbid, and I'm put into the hospital, and I don't have money to pay for that hospital visit. Well, what happens? Well, your employer has also put a plan in place to make sure that you're taken care of. And the fact is, if you go over and now quote me if I'm, stop me if I'm wrong, because you guys have a very unique plan. If you have met anything over $500, okay, your employer will stop the contribution of the $100, and you will submit explanation of benefits to them, and they will cut you a check. So that's the difference, okay? Because that will be a check to you, which will apply. This is very similar to a flexible spending account. However, flexible spending is not owned by you per se, because if you don't use it, you lose it. An HSA, it's yours. You don't lose it. If you were to leave this employer, you take it with you. Now, what happens is Julia is going to set up the account, the employer account, and the employer is obviously contributing on your behalf. So that's fantastic. But if you guys want to go online after this is set up, you're able to get a debit card, right, to utilize the funds. So now, when you go to the doctor, right, doctor always, or the office usually says, what's your copay, right? Most of the time if you go to the doctor, they say, what's your copay? I don't have a copay. They bill United Healthcare, right? So now we're going to have everyone sign up to myuhc.com, right? And now you're going to have to look at those EOBs. Okay? Because now at that time you're going to want to know, what does United Healthcare pay and what do I owe? Okay? Because I can do it right online where I just pay that doctor. So if I go in for that sinus problem, right, she's billing United Healthcare. Once that bill comes in, I know I get an electronic statement just telling me, hey, there's a statement out there, and I go out there and I go, oh, I see my doctor, Dr. Brown, just charged me for that sinus problem, okay, and it ended up being like $64 for that visit. What do I do now? $64. Well, now I can pay it from that HSA, and I can pay it with that card. Don't panic if you have something happen. You guys, the first year I was on my HSA, my son broke his ankle, which was really fun, and he had a really, really high medication that I had to pay for. So for me, it was a little bit of a challenge, but again, Millie is your resource to help, make sure you're getting the best bang for your buck, okay? And if you do have something like I had, like you have a doctor's surgery, things going on, set up a payment arrangement. Money's going into that HSA, right? And I can pay a monthly fee to that doctor. Does that make sense to everybody? It's not something where they'll go, oh, you owe $1,200, let's go, give it to me now. Go, I don't have that kind of money. Let's set up a payment arrangement. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. United Healthcare does provide Care 24. I don't know if any of you guys have utilized it, because if you guys have had this, where you can call a registered nurse. I'll tell you right now, we call it. I think we've called it last year at least 3 times. Okay? We try to triage stuff at home if we can, and if we can't, then I'm going to look to obtain services.
Somebody mixed my medicine. Somebody mixed my medicine.